YouTube. Got an LTD in. Apologies to the owner of this. He dropped it off at Blitzkrieg shop when my car was broken, and I downloaded and I was basically I've cleared it. I've only got one more to do after this, and I'm back on top. Yeah, so this is an LTD. Serial number is Indonesian IR04, so 2004 possibly. I'm going for the model being an H50, seeing as it says that in the 12th fret. So what we have is a Super Strat. This actually reminds me very much of a Jackson I had. So we've got like a carved top on it. A wee extra Scoopy Doop there and here. It's a Yamaha that's kind of like that as well. The bit I did like, which I'd never noticed before, look at that, the carve out in the back. That's not like a painting. Look at this big Scoopy thing on the back. I've never seen that before. Yeah. So this guitar was in for the guy wanted me to take the frets down. It was like, you want lower frets, really? To be honest, I did a little bit. I think someone had a go at leveling at some point, but the problem was the nut. The nut was I think the nut's been replaced. I don't think it would have come out the factory like that because LTD are normally really good. But the nut was too high, which meant that every note you played sounded out of tune. Also, the intonation, I think, someone had tried to adjust the intonation to make up for the fact that it was sounding out of tune, and it's like, for doing the nut on guitars, it's a nightmare. But so basically, if it's correct, if you hold it down on the 3rd fret and then tap it between it and the 2nd fret, the 1st fret even, there should be something. I can't remember who it was. It was Joe Walsh's guitar tech said that. There should be something there, not just sitting flat on the fret. But I mean, this was like 2 millimeters, something like that. So tune it open and then play an F or a G or something like that, and it's like out. Now it's no. So did the frets, took the whole thing to bits. It was pretty. It's basically, I think this has maybe happened to maybe 10 years ago or something like that. And it's kind of sitting dusty. So I've cleaned it up, tuned it up. It's got red strings, you can see, which I've heard of them, obviously. Strings by Aurora. They were in the case. It does say extra long life, so I wonder if the coating is kind of like your Elixir idea, where it's got kind of like paint on it, therefore they last longer. Could be. I remember buying rainbow coloured strings one time for an acoustic, but they were like 99p from China, so they didn't last very long. But the idea was there, where they just painted them different colours. Yeah, so this guitar is actually in very good nick. We've got a scarf joint there, a nice volute with ESP on the back. Headstock kind of reminds me of, it's probably before it, I had a Tanglewood Barretta, which is a headstock a little bit like that. 2 humbuckers, volume tone. Had to replace the tone pot. I spent ages, used half a can of switch cleaner, just I was like, sod it, just put a new one in. I should just have done that first, and it would have taken half the time. So here we go, we're going to try clean, although I'm sure it's not just a metal guitar, but look at it, it's a metal guitar. No coil splits in like that, although I could have fitted them. Actually, I remember the first time I went to download, every single band was an LTD. I don't know what it hasn't happened the last couple of years, because I always remember that when the first one, when I had another LTD guitar, because I was like, you're going to see 10 bands in a day or something like that, so you're thinking, well, the way of remembering guitars, the way of remembering bands for me and my pal Wayne is like, oh, which band was that? It's like the ones with the white SG. Oh, that band. Or the guy with the flying V. Yes, I remember them. All those bands. Even comes back to what was the band we were talking about? Monster Truck, which I think I saw the first year I was at down maybe 5-6 years ago. And I was like, I went Monster Truck. I was like, I don't know if I remember them. I was like, they had a yellow SG. I remember them now. It's not right, is it? But us guitar geeks are all over the place. So this does have quite chunky frets, which all LTDs do. I always love. I mean, it's when he said, the frets are a bit off. I was like, all right, what kind of guitars? An LTD? The frets are off on an LTD? Really? Because I've had a few of these through. I've actually got one. I've got an Alexi Lahio guitar, which I converted into a baby metal guitar. I didn't know it was worth tons of money. I didn't pay very much for it. I was like, I sawed a bit out it, painted it like baby metal and sanded it. But the frets on it is fantastic. Big chunky ones, and they've got sort of rounded ends on them. I was going to say I don't think they are on this, but they kind of are. I don't know. I mean, it's made in Indonesia. So I mean, I don't. Maybe ESP or LTD spec that they've got to do good frets and pay the extra money or something, and nobody else does. I don't know why. I have seen frets like this on very expensive guitars, but I've also seen them on, and this is an H50. I remember having a Viper 50 or a Viper 60. Like a lot of these things, like a 60s, like a lower model, or 50s a lower end model, and like the 600 or the 500 would be the expensive one. You know, the higher the number, the better it is. But I think it really then you're talking about, okay, it's probably quite a basic guitar, you know, no just be home brand pickups, no Floyd Rose, no fancy electrics, just a solid colour, you know. But like what happens with a lot of these guitars, well, actually that one and that one, you spend the money on the building it, so it's really well built. The frets are where they are now, really good. Again, all the hardware is competent, not overly fancy, not like Harley Benton. You go, oh, but it's got Wilkinson tuners. Oh, does it? All right, cool. Aye. But they're all squiggly and you're like in the wrong place. Like, right, that's not the same as. I would rather have just decent tuners in the right place that work, rather than having the expensive stuff. And it's the same when you start putting, you know, funny hardware. And I'd imagine the more expensive one's probably got a Floyd Rose, because a Floyd Rose must be more expensive than building, you know, like a Tunematic bridge. I was actually going to have a look. I wasn't going to get to it. There's a wee bit of a crack there the guy said I could do with. There's not really anything you can do, you know. It's like I try and fix it. I'm kind of tempted to put a wee bit of super glue in it to try and to stop it going anymore. But I worry that the super glue will go that kind of white thing and it'll just look, you'll be able to see it from space because of the damage. So I'd be tempted just to leave it. I'm kind of don't. But if it was a, you know, if it was a £10,000 guitar, okay, I would fix it. But it's not 10,000. You know, I'm already, I think, in danger. Kind of the bill's going to be kind of what the guitar's worth. Well, not now. It's the bill's going to be what the guitar was worth when you gave it to me. And I think these strings seem all right. There may be, I suppose, it's even been a while since I bought elixirs because they're so expensive. I always found with elixirs, after a couple of days, they were just as good as normal strings. But when you first put them on, they don't have that zing that you get in the first week or the first few days of like normal strings, because they've got the coating on them. They're not quite as bright and zingy. But after a couple of days, it's like when you put new strings on. You've got a few days of new strings, and then after that, it's like, oh, they're all right for a couple of weeks, and then it's like they're done. So I'm trying to play it clean. So I'm in the middle position. Orange TH30. It's coming through that 3x12 cabinet though, and it's got a reverb pedal on. Bridge pickup. Neck pickup. Tone control doesn't go now. I was going to ask the guy if he wanted to just leave it in, but it would annoy, just because it was a really, really loud crackle and it wouldn't go away. I think probably from lack of use, to be honest. I'm not really one for using the tone control very often. So I would put this guitar in kind of like a Jackson feeling neck, like a sort of C rather than a D. Quite a wide fretboard. I don't actually know what the fretboard radius is, but I'm going to guess it's quite low. I mean, this is the normal set, so this only goes up to 12. I think it might be flatter than that though. It's on top of the string. There we go. No, it's a 12-inch, so it's like a Gibson fretboard radius. It feels a little bit wider. It's like with these things with necks, it's like a really, 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 really wide. Oh, such a wide fretboard is only like a millimetre or two wider than a thin fretboard. So it's like very small changes in these dimensions make it quite a big difference. It makes it feel quite thin this way, but quite fat that way. kind of like a shower. Right, enough of that. Metal. Rat pedal. Bridge. This has very powerful pickups, I think, because you can feel there the rat's a little bit muddy. What's going on there? That kind of happens. See, new metal or modern stuff, I find that a bit for the pickups. I generally tend to like your sort of DiMarzio Super Distortion type, where you've got like a sort of vintage, very low output pickup that distorts and is very bright very easily. That's my thing. But if you ever try and play a lot of the heavy metal guitars, they don't really work with what I'm using. But, and vice versa, if you took the guitars I like and then tried them to play through like a Mesa Boogie or something like that, they're just going to be, because they distort really early and are very bright at the start, when you put more gain on, they just turn to mush and disappear. Whereas something like this, lots of gain, that's when they come to life. So I'm going to use my Pi Fuzz pedal, which I think this kind of handles a bit better. See, the brightness is back, an awful lot more distortion. Yeah, see what I mean? I'm kind of actually, if I can find this, it's there, I find it really quickly. We're just going to see what the reading of these are. So normally my my Super Distortion, not very many or whatever pickups kind of come in at sort of 8.5, 7.5, 8.5K, something like that. I'm thinking these are going to be twice that though, which is what I'm saying there about why it sounds a little bit muddy, and also doesn't sound wonderful clean. I mean, obviously the thing is you can adjust the amp to sort that. It's like I'm sitting there going, oh, it's a little bit muddy. There's treble controls everywhere on it, so I can totally sort it out, right? So neck pickups coming in at 14.4 for the neck pickup. Bridge pickup is going to be more than that, isn't it? 15.3. Yeah, so that's a lot. What the ohms reading really tells you, it doesn't really tell you that much about what the pickup's going to sound like, or volume or anything like that. It does it tells you how much wire's on it, and the more wire, the higher grade pickups, or the higher resistances, 16K, probably means it's got twice as much wire wrapped around it than a normal pickup or a classic or whatever you would call it. The thing about something like the DiMarzio Super Distortions and what's in all the Japanese guitars, which are copies of DiMarzio Super Distortions, is they were kind of from the era of folk were wanting to have their Fender, their Marshall amp. Pedals weren't a huge thing at the time. People wanted more gain, and the thing about a Super Distortion, the reason it's called that was you could go into a sort of, I know it sounds ridiculous that Marshall amps are clean. Bear with me though. The thing was, like the old ones kind of were, they didn't have a master volume. Now you just put the gain up at full and you put the volume at 1, and then it's really distorted. You used to just have a volume. So the only way you could really get it to distort, if you wanted to play Sabbath or Zeppelin or something like that, was to have it up at half, 3/4 full volume, which is great when you're playing Madison Square Garden or something like that. But if you're in a house or a pub, you can't have a Marshall app running at full whack. You just can't do it. You don't need them anymore these days anyway, really, because everywhere's just everything goes through the PA. If you think back, look, Deep Purple Made in Japan, the album cover have got all those Marshall stacks. They were on. That was the sound, where the sound came from. Okay, some of them would probably be a feed into the Tannoy system, but even Ian Gillan used to sing through a 200 watt Marshall stack. John Lord played through one. Bass obviously went through one, and Richie Blackmore had just 200 watt special heads with 4x12 cabinets. That was because the sound that was coming out of those amps had to reach the back of the hall, as opposed to now when it's like basically you've got a kind of like you almost want to have less sound on stage because you've got a sound guy and everything's going through the desk. So, I mean, that last gig I did with the Sabbath band, we played really quietly. I used this amp, and I had it. Okay, I've turned it down a wee bit, but pretty much at the volume. It was playing at the volume. I've got it on right now, on stage, and then we just relied on there being a decent sound guy who could give me some of my sound coming through the monitor and lots of Craig's guitar. I wasn't really bothered about the sound because I could hear him anyway because he was standing next to me. What a difference that made though, because that means that the guy in front of the sound desk could tailor our sound. He had everything to do. Whereas if you're in a relatively small venue and you've got your amps chunked up, all the sound guy can do is he can turn up the things that aren't loud enough. That's all. And, if you've got like a 50-watt Marshall cranked, you can't turn it down, whereas we were all turned down, which meant he had like like a volume control for each one of us. And okay, he couldn't turn us completely off because it is okay, it's still at volume, but I mean, get a good 80% of the volume, he can turn it down, which gives him power to put it up and EQ it and all these things to actually make a good sound out the front. Kind of went off topic a wee bit. It's a wee bit muddy. Back on with the Pi twin note super fuzz. It's a really easy to play guitar though. Playing like a dream now, has to be said. It's not really very metal, is it? How do I do? I think I do. It doesn't go with the drums though. Obviously, it should be going. Chugging, which I don't really do very much, but. Can I? Good enough. Okay, when you put a really fast rhythm track in, I've got to play fast lead over it. Okay, I've gone over my time, but I can't not put bass on since I've been doing that with everything recently. Maybe not have the lead sitting on the ground. But actually, I've got to use a wee red bass since I've been using it every day for everything. Very quickly though. Not very metal, is it? That must have only taken about 30 seconds to put that in. Now I'm happy. I'm playing fucking hot stuff again, haven't I? Cacophony. Yes. Not the band Cacophony, which I believe it's on one of my Metal Masters records. Never really listened to very much. But yeah, it just becomes nonsense. But I mean, it kind of. I'm pretty honest with these guitars. It's like what it looks like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like very much influences what it is I'm trying to play. And the reason I was trying to play that, I'm kind of trying to do things that I can't do. The guitar's pushing me. It does things that I can't. That's a good thing. It's actually getting me a bit more into the mood for. I need to fix my Paul Gilbert because it's. I can do this. This is a sort of super strat, so it's a similar kind of thing. Sort of. This is more metal. I think the Paul Gilbert one probably does strat sounds. This doesn't. It's not for that. It's for. But it plays really well. The big frets are great for the bendy, and it's dead easy to play. Yeah, so I've got LTD guitars are awfully good. I've said this. If you look up, I don't even know if I've got a playlist of LTD guitars. I've had a 3 or 4 or something through my hands, and they are always excellent. The styling doesn't suit me the same way. I mean, this is all right. It's inoffensive, and therefore I don't like it. I like offensive shapes. The Shocking Bird, that's offensive. That's why I like it. LTD kind of tend to look a bit weird. The ones, I've thought of another lot. The Phoenix ones, which are the Firebirds. Clever, eh? Not Firebird, it's the Phoenix. In fact, that's what that's called. Apparently they're mythical. I assumed it's a. Cause I think I said I was like, you're a Phoenix. That's a kind of vulture or something in it, like a bird of prey. It's like no, it's mythical. All right, okay. I just assumed that you always saw them over previously burnt woodland or something because they ate the surviving mice or something. But apparently, I do like the Firebird because it looks fine. The Les Paul has got one of those ones that's kind of, because you're used to looking at a normal Les Paul, it looks a wee bit wonky, which kind of happens with guitars that are too close. Sometimes when you see Strat copies, they look terrible, because like that, that's fine. I mean, okay, you could argue that is a Strat, but it's different enough to not be a Strat that looks wrong. That's just a Strat. But when you get some of the cheaper ones, the ones where they don't have the curves quite right and stuff, where it's like something odd looking about that. You get it with Telecasters as well. That one, some of that'll be triggering some of you because that's not exactly Telecaster shape. It's a bit thinner and it's a bit pointier and all that. For some reason, I got on with that, but I have seen tellies. You look at it, you go, a bit bulbous or something. Just not right. Whereas this isn't a copy of anything I can really think of. Apart from the Jackson, which is a bit. When I say copies of it, there's obviously Yamaha built guitars like this. It's basically just a guitar from, I would say, like the late 80s, early 90s shape, but with more modern appointments. The black hardware, the standard bridge. So this would do your down tuning very well. For nu metal. Should really be playing it through the nu metal, the new tone amp there, which is on the deck, which I need to do another video of and just sell it. There's no, but kind of because I managed to stack it in below that amp, I've not really noticed it taking up very much space, apart from the fact you can't see the guitars up behind it, and it's a bit of a pig to get them off the wall because you have to kind of take them off and navigate them round the top of the orange. Half an hour. Rock on. Your guitar's ready. I will drop it off in Blitzkrieg tomorrow or Thursday or something like that. I'll give you a message right now. Tell you what I did. So what I did, you might be the only person that's still watching it now. Did the nut needed done. It was gone. Took the tuners off. Cleaned, basically stripped it right down. Cleaned it. Replaced the tone pot because I just couldn't get the one that was in it to stop going. Set the intonation. Adjusted the pickup heights. Did the frets. Basically an entire fret job, all leveled, crowned and polished. All the fingerboards, adjusted the truss rods, action stuff. Got the action set exactly where I think is about perfect, which is a penny between the string and the first fret, and slightly less than a penny between the string and the first fret, and the 12th fret is about right. I could get it a bit lower or a bit higher. Some people, I think this is kind of in the middle. I would still class this as low action. You can get it lower, but the problem with that is though, I'm looking at the style of the guitar, and I've never even met the guy whose guitar it is. He dropped it off in Blitzkrieg. used that feature, which I'd never really thought of. Tony seemed alright with it. Cheers, Tony, for letting me drop it. Use your shop as a pickup point. It was mostly because my car was broken, though, to be honest. So I hope when you get this back, it's like a new guitar. Kind of looks like one. It's in really good nick. There's no dents at all in the neck, which is lovely. I've got very few guitars that don't have any dents in the neck. Dents in the body don't bother me the same way. Kind of notice them when they're here. You know, the bit where your arm rubs off it. As long as there's no dents there and the neck's good, I'm thinking it's awesome. And it's got, you know, this has been used. There's a few, you know. Basically, if you were buying it brand new and paying full price for it, you'd be like, oh, there's a bit of a chip in the headstock there, and there's a wee bit of a dent there. You know. But none of these affect the way it plays. Yes, so awesome guitar. It was 2014, so it'll be 20 years next year. And I dare say it's probably playing better than it has for 15 years. I would think. And these red strings aren't shit like I thought they were going to be, to be honest. They're a little bit elixirly because they've got a coating on them. But I mean, I bet they're really expensive, actually. I keep hearing really... I was going to buy Dr. Neon strings for a bass at one point. I was happy to look up that, and it was like, I think it was on Amazon, and you get the reviews, and they were like 1 star, and it was 20 folk all going, these are crap! Don't buy these, they look good, but oh god, they're awful! So, I didn't bother buying them. But then again, you don't know what people are doing with these things. You know, it's like, go to the, what is it you're expecting? I remember seeing a review of Ben Nevis, which is the tallest mountain in Scotland. And the review was 1 star. This is what awful mountain to climb. Oh god, was it really difficult or something? Up here, yeah. Got to the top, there was nothing there. There wasn't a toilet. There wasn't a coffee shop. Mount Snowdonia, I think you'll find that when you get to the top, there's a gift shop and all that. You're like, right. And there's like a monorail thing that goes up like a chairlift. And you're like, all right, yeah, that's no. You can't go for like the tallest mountain in Scotland, which is, you can get kind of halfway up it with the car, where the car park is. I've never been to the top of it, but I've been to the car park at the bottom. Yeah, it's like, oh, climbing up. Yeah, there's like a wee path, and then at the top there's like a mountain, because that's what mountains are like. But you know, so that's the thing. You know, it's like when you're reading reviews and stuff, you never really know what people are expecting. And you might find that the people who, where I was getting there with that, with the neon Dr. Neon strings, maybe they were, you know, like a Primus type player, which pure bang, 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 so it's all treble and punch and brightness. And maybe they just don't do that. Or maybe if, you know, me being in a Sabbath band, maybe a slightly woolier sound works better. Again, I suppose you could get a bad review for this. 1 star, doesn't have a tremolo. Yep, I understand why you don't like that guitar, because you need a trem, you need a Floyd Rose. Right, you need one, that's totally it. So this one is not for you. You can't downgrade the guitar for a choice, though. You know, it's like it doesn't have a tremolo. No, there will be one that does have a tremolo. You should buy that one instead. Give it 5 stars. Amazing guitar. Everything's fantastic. Wonderful. Don't like this one. Doesn't have a tremolo. Shite. Hate it. I can't play guitar without a tremolo. Wee bit ranty. Rock on. Catch you later. And see you during the week.